From the AI side, we saw the opportunity for international collaboration, and our region covers a number of states as well as some international territories, and we value the relationship that develops the information. And with our neighbors to the north, it just seemed like a natural.
No, I think Stan's comments are on the money, almost literally in some ways. We've been exchanging visits back and forth for a few years. Starting, I don't know, a handful of years ago, and the relationship seemed to work. There was a collegial approach to things, and quite frankly, the 49th parallel is, for the profession, an arbitrary political line that gets drawn geographically, economically, attitudinally. It's not hard to figure out who's an architect and who's not. It was an opportunity to reach out and to do things, as Stan said, in a collaborative way. And as much as we think we're similar, we keep learning from each other, which is great.
It was certainly about the education opportunities and the opportunity to learn about a new area for our members, and about members in Canada to learn about the Americans and how we do business. When I visited a couple years ago, I saw that the programming here is very similar to what our needs are, covering sustainability, water penetration, liability, all the same issues. And as Michael said, the cross-border is, we have so many firms that are doing work up here and firms coming down south, that it just really made sense to bring the two groups together.
The economics in different countries will drive certain things. On the other hand, you don't always have to be physically in the other jurisdiction to do the work. A lot of work these days is done electronically, if you can do it that way. One of the interesting things between the two countries is the fact that for a long time there have not been any registration barriers of any significance, because the examination systems in both countries and the internship systems in both countries, while not identical, have been mutually respected. So there's been cross-border traffic for quite some time. And for us, there's nothing to say that there's no import quota, if you like. If you can demonstrate that you're competent and you're able to do good work, welcome aboard. And going south and going elsewhere, the ability to export real expertise that's of public benefit, bring it on.
I agree that the economics that are driving it is that the whole region is starting to grow again. And during the American recession, we had firms that looked north for work. And I think your registration numbers would reflect that. More Americans became registered up here in British Columbia. It wasn't that difficult because of the similarities in registration systems and competencies. And we've really benefited from it. I think our firms that have worked up here have talked about the process up here and how the collaboration works with the teams, and they've been very impressed. We're also very used to international opportunities. The growth in Asia affects both of our areas.
Yep.
Architects from British Columbia and architects from the States are going over to China and Japan and doing a lot of work. And so we've had topics on those to talk about.
I think there's a lot of common values, and a lot of those are regional, not only because of geography, but there is a different West Coast attitude, not to be too precious about it, but there is something different. There's a different relationship to the land. There's a different set of attitudes, which is not so laid back that business doesn't get done, but there is a different attitude towards life here, and professionals on both sides of the border share that. That's not an issue.
Absolutely. I think that members, architects in both countries are used to working with one another, and I don't really see a lot of barriers. And they're working at the level of design that's driving the project, not and the other issues, exchange rates and licenses and stuff, they all get worked out, and they get, that's what architects do every day on their projects. They find the problems, they solve them, and they move forward. But the goal is better design. And that's what we've been working on this week, is working on with architects on how do you make your projects better? How do you meet those sustainability goals that clients are demanding? And that as we learned last night, that climate change and other issues are driving as well. And we have a lot in common about that.
One of the highlights, other than the collaboration itself, ahead of the conference, which was pretty rich and productive, things like the 2 plenary sessions are maybe a really good indicator because the panels are mixed in terms of south and north of the border. And you inherently get different attitudes from different places. Some of the systems are different north and south of the border, so you do get inherently different approaches. And seeing those and blending them and being able to build upon them is a lot healthier than any kind of adversarial approach. I know from our perspective at a national level, when we started mentioning to our colleagues across the country that this was in the offing, you'd get either a funny silence or overtly, really? I mean, why? And some parts of the world are a lot more defensive. And I think what you have is a common characteristic on the West Coast of being more open to new experience. So what's working for us?
I think some of the highlights are yet to come. I'm excited about the tours on Saturday and getting out and seeing hands-on what's going on in BC, learning about the heart and soul of Vancouver, as some of them are titled. And the pre-conference workshops were great, bringing architects together from across the border to do a case study of this building. Highlight, we often go into a building and we're all focused on the other education programs and don't use the facility itself to learn. And this time we did, and I think that was an amazing result. We brought students in, we had design professionals from both sides of the border, and we had the design team from both sides of the border focused on this building as a case study of how to do better architecture, how to work with the community. And it was an amazing process.